Hello everybody, Momo from TheMomozone. It has been a while. I haven't done one of these interview style videos in quite a while, and let me tell you, today is a very special day because manifestation has made it that I bump into an old friend from the old days of YouTube, a man who has lived his dream, a man who followed through. So let me tell you a little bit about this amazing Babtist de Pape guy that happens to be sitting right here. This gentleman, when I first met him years ago, we were talking on the internet, we're all kind of like motivating buddies, people who are into positive stuff. So we connected. And I remember him telling me 5 years ago that he had a dream, something that he wanted to actually do, something that involves putting together a movie, something that involves doing something positive for the earth. And this man actually followed through. Let me show you with what. Oh yeah, check this out. The Power of the Heart. And there is also a book called The Power of the Heart. Here we go, in stereo. And let's talk a little bit about this because this is quickly growing to be a #1 movie and book around the world. How did this start? Let's talk a little bit about this movie because you got some heavy hitters that are actually playing in this thing right now. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that.
If you would have told me 6 years ago that I would produce a film about heart, I would have told you that you're crazy. Because I was a lawyer in the city of Amsterdam. I was a very unhappy lawyer. And I realized I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. But the problem was I didn't know what I really wanted to do with my life. So what do you do 5 years ago if you want to find something? You go onto the internet. So I Googled, how to find your purpose in life. And I didn't find anything meaningful, but at one point I found a video where Oprah Winfrey was talking to Eckhart Tolle. This was a video in the New Earth series. It was all based on Eckhart's new book at that time, A New Earth. And the video started with Oprah saying, I think there's nothing more important than finding your purpose in life. And of course that, was exactly what I was looking for, my purpose in life. So I was captivated by this video. And Eckhart, he replied and he said, yes, but you can't get there through thinking. And this was a big revelation for me because I was trying to think my way to my purpose, because that's how I was educated. I was educated to think my way to the solution, to use linear, rational, logical thinking. Eckhart said you can't get there through thinking. And he continued and he said, if you want to find your purpose in life, then you can ask yourself, what do I want from life? But a more powerful question would be, what does life want from me? So what does the bigger picture want from me?
Wow.
Because we're always asking, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And I was doing that. I was asking myself, what do I want? And Eckhart, he said, if you want to find the answer to this question, you have to look for moments of stillness. And the best way to do that is to go into nature. So the next day, I went into a big park where I live and I started walking. And I said, okay, I'm in stillness now, I'm in nature now. So now I have to ask the question, what does life want from me?
So then what happened?
Nothing happened. So I said, I have to give it more time. So I just started walking, and while I was walking, I asked myself, what does life want from me? And I did this for about 1 hour, and after that hour, nothing happened. And I was a little bit, I started to doubt, does this really work? Yeah. So I said, Oprah Winfrey is listening to this, millions of people are watching this, and Eckhart is saying this on television, and, I admire those people. So I said, I want to make a statement. I'm going to send Eckhart Tolle an email that it doesn't work because I've tried it out. While I was pondering how to write this email, it started to rain, and it started to rain really, really hard. And I forgot all about the question, and I started to run, and I found 5 big old trees. And when I was standing under those trees, I don't know what happened, but I had a very, very painful feeling in my chest, and I thought, I have a heart attack.
This is where you thought you were going to actually die.
I'm going to die.
Right
it's
there.
over. I thought I'm really going to die. This is probably the answer to the question, what does life want from me? It's over. And
sorry, that would have been ironic.
Yeah, if I would describe the feeling, I felt there was a bone in my heart, and it broke. Right after this happened, I started to cry like I never cried before. And I don't like to cry at all. I was just crying, because I felt this overwhelming feeling of love, of peace, of clarity, but most of all, a very powerful feeling of coming home. And while I was experiencing all of this, like a download, somehow, the idea came to me, you have to make a film about heart. I immediately remembered what Eckhart Tolle had said. He said, you can't get there through thinking. And this was not coming through my thinking, but it was coming through this powerful feeling of love, aliveness, of coming home. I said, this must be it. You know, it's like falling in love. You just, boom, you have the feeling and you just know it's there and it's not coming through your thinking. So I said, hallelujah, eureka, this is my purpose. I have to make a film about the heart. So I was standing there under the trees, happy, happy, happy. And I was happy for about 5 minutes. And then my mind started to kick in. And my mind said, you're crazy, you know. You don't know anything about film production. You don't know anyone in film production. And you're a lawyer, so you don't know anything about the heart. All these thoughts were coming up. And I immediately realized that my mind was saying, this is crazy. My mind was protesting, but my heart was, you know, saying, this is it. The aliveness was so big. Martin Luther King said, he said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And I just started following this feeling of aliveness. And that's 5 years ago. And that's when we started talking. And, you know, in the beginning, I didn't have no money. I didn't know how to finance it. I didn't know how to figure it out. And then you started to speak to me and said, you know, you can do it. You know how to do it. Somehow, you know, you have this power to do it. And you started to speak to me and motivating me. And you said, you can do it. And that's when we had these conversations.
Yeah, and then we got to talk, and we did an interview and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think that the power of motivation, in this case, what is really amazing is that you went ahead and you said, I'm going to try and do something. So you got inspired by Oprah, you loved what you heard, you went out, you went into the woods, you do this and nothing is happening, and it takes you to think you're actually going to get a heart attack and die, to come up with something called the power of the heart. Go out and bring together some of the world's leading experts in positivity and science, right? And actually follow through to the end. Okay, so now let's talk about something very interesting. Now you have this dream. You don't have no experience, you go ahead and you want to follow through, but you're going to go to the end of this deal. How do you manage to say, wow, I'm going to bring Deepak Chopra and all these big names to actually come to me to make this movie?
Started doing research on the heart, and if you look at all spiritual traditions and religions, then the heart has been described as a source of wisdom and intelligence. The Buddha was talking about heart, Jesus was talking about heart, Lao Tzu was talking about the heart, and the first thing I thought was, I wish I had a time machine and just go back to these times and interview those guys. Then I realized, I have to look for ambassadors of the heart in our time. And I realized the first time that I saw Maya Angelou on television, and she's an icon in the US, she passed last year, it was during the first inauguration of Bill Clinton. And she was asked to recite a poem. And in this poem, she encourages us to live and work from the heart. I heard this voice, and you saw her in the film, she's got this incredible presence, incredible voice. And it was like, God speaking to me. The second person was Paulo Coelho. He wrote The Alchemist, one of my favorite books. And then, of course, Eckhart Tolle was on the list because he jump-started the whole project with the question, what does life want from me? Of course, Deepak, you just mentioned him. He has one book, it's called Fire in the Heart, and it's really about, how to connect with that heart space. Because I learned from doing all the research that the heart is really a reliable source of intuition and wisdom, but how can we connect with it and how can we use it in our daily lives? I discovered the work of the Hartman Institute in Northern California. This is an institute and they do research on the heart, and there was this one experiment, and you see it in the beginning of the film. They show that the heart can see events before they take place. So the heart knows what happens before the eyes can see it. And this is really a scientific explanation for what the old masters, Jesus, Lao Tzu, and the Buddha have said, that the heart is a powerful source of wisdom and intelligence.
Like some pre-intuition.
Yeah. So it's a confirmation of what has been said in spiritual traditions and religions.
So following up from your original idea, you go and do some research.
Yeah.
From after saying, man, I'm going to die of a heart attack, I got the idea, I'm going to do something on the heart. You do some research and tack, all these people come together. That is because he follows through and goes right to the end of his thought, and manifestation comes to play because when you follow through, stuff happens.